We're live, I think.
We are live. Hello and welcome to the Node.js Foundation Technical Steering Committee on April 18th, 2018. Are there any announcements?
I have a couple this week. First one is just to remind everybody that the TSC Chair Director Representative nominations are open. So if you want to go to 521, if you want to nominate yourself or anybody else, that's the place to go. The other thing is there's an enterprise use case user feedback session this Friday. And it would be great to have more people from the TSC to be there to sort of listen to what that group of users is telling us and participate in the discussion. So just another, sort of shout out to say, hey, if you have an interest or have time, please attend there. Those are the two that I have.
Thanks, Michael.
One thing, there is the call for proposal for JS Interactive that finishes stops on the 20th.
Right. So
if you want to apply and speak on JS Interactive, please do so.
I knew there was a third one I forgot. Thanks.
No worries. It's very important.
Okay. A few more people joining. Any other announcements? Then the first item on the agenda is 19827, add documentation on porting from buffer arc usage. So we have a guide that Nikita and Anna and Joyi started. And Rich started the FAQ. We might want to merge those. Did everybody have a chance to look at the FAQ that Rich sent out? That was sent by email.
I did.
Okay, there's a lot of holes we still need to fill in.
Yeah, I'm not sure I quite got that email.
Oh, you probably didn't. I'll send it to you.
Mm.
Oh, thanks, Rich, for getting that started. And then related to that is tracking issue for runtime deprecation of buffer constructor, issue 19079. The steps we have to do for that is write the FAQ, which Rich started, which needs more input. We need the guide on how to migrate, which Nikita and Anna have started. I think that is in pretty good shape, right?
I think so. I think it's better at this point to send a pull request to decide where we are putting this guide and make a pull request open.
Yeah. Nikita, do you want to say something about the guide, the migration guide, and what shape it's in and what's missing?
I'm not sure what's missing there, but I don't feel that it's in good enough shape to publish it from Node.js. Perhaps it needs just more people to look at it and add something or review what is written there. So I would prefer more people to take a look at the guide and leave comments. And about editing the guide, anyway, we could do that, works for me.
Okay, but you're saying it basically just needs polishing and make sure that everything flows, but it's not that major sections are missing, right?
Most of that was written by me, and I don't think that it's a good practice. I just could be missing something totally. So it's not just it needs polishing, it needs review by other people.
Okay, great. So if everybody could look at 19079, and that links to the guide, and then add your feedback there, pull requests or comments or whatever.
I would prefer if we got a pull request so that we can work on.
Yes.
Pull request means
somewhere decide if we live on the website or on Node Core, and then start working it as a inside a pull request. It's way better. It's a way better form than collaborating, and it will foster new look at the thing as well.
But I'm not sure what you're saying, Matteo. It's on GitHub, and people can do pull requests. What do you not like about that?
It's not on one of our repos.
Oh, because it's on Chalker's repo?
Yeah, I think we should start having that guide on our website, and as part of the process of getting it on the website, it will get polished. So I think we should have a guide by Node 10. When Node 10 goes out, we should have a guide. Whatever state that guide is, it's to some extent secondary.
Node 10 is Tuesday, right?
Yes, 24th. Well, Chalker, do you want to make a pull request to the official docs with the version you have right now, and then in that pull request we can all edit it?
Could you send me a link to IRC? Where exactly should I put it?
I always have to look for the docs myself. Is it called website, like the whole repo? Does anybody know top of their head? The repo is called Node.js org. And we have, I usually just do a grab for something from the documentation to find the right part. And then locale en, and we could put it in docs, maybe docs guides.
Sorry, I was talking muted. I just pasted the link, which is for exactly that.
Okay, I found the very same link. Yeah. So if you can add it to
Could you send it to IRC or to the GitHub issue, please? Because I don't see the.
Oh, of course. I'll comment on the porting buffer MD.
Okay, thank you.
Comment. Can somebody else comment there since I'm talking? Since I'm sharing.
To where you, okay, that's the link there. Okay.
Yeah.
Paste it into there.
I don't see it yet.
Why is it not letting me? Okay, so that's just a markdown safe buffer comment.
Oh, I guess you can open a new issue.
Okay, maybe I'll open a new issue because I don't see move to Node.js, Node.js org, discussion in TSC meeting, to move it here.
Okay.
Okay, so I've created a new issue in your safe buffer org, issue number 2.
Okay, thanks, Michael.
Yep.
Thanks for opening the pull request, Nikita. Anything else about the buffer constructor deprecation that we need to do before Tuesday? Oh, so the tracking issue says that in addition to the FAQ and the migration guide and explaining why we're doing that, we need to identify the modules that heavily rely on that. Is anybody working on this? Anybody working? Are there any modules we still need to identify?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please? Also, I was previously talking muted. I said that I noticed doing that. The issue number 4, I think, in my repo. So I will make a pull request. And what was the last question about?
So in 19079, we agreed that before we can move forward, we have to identify the modules that heavily rely on the deprecated buffer constructor. And I guess we wanted to fix those modules. I'm wondering if anybody is working on that.
I think that we fixed a lot of models doing that in latest versions, but I have a private repo with a list of those, and I also posted some of those lists to the public issue, but perhaps it got lost because the issue was very long. I will take another look at what modules are still using the duplicate buffer constructor. I also have a list of authors of those modules that are using the duplicate buffer constructor. And for each author, I have a list of lines of code in their modules sorted by module popularity. Which exact lines are using the duplicate buffer constructor. I don't think that it's a good idea to share that. I think I mentioned that in the issue. Perhaps in the tracking deprecation. In the tracking issue.
It's a fairly long issue. Thanks so much for working on the modules. And I agree, we should not share the list for security reasons. Okay, so we get the pull request out. That means we have the migration guide hopefully up soon for Node 10. We have the FAQ started. Nikita is looking into the most used modules. Looks like we're on track there. Okay.
You know, let's check something. Does everyone here have access to per author within the private repo?
I think so.
Access to what?
To duplicate buffer constructor usage sorted per author, grouped per author, per each author. Perhaps getting in contact with the people from the folder with the largest number on it could be useful. There are 3 people over there.
Does anybody know them? Should we talk about it in the private session to figure out how to best coordinate that?
Yes, I think we could do that.
Okay, sounds like a plan. All right, moving on. The next issue is the tracking issue for updating TSC on board meetings, TSC 476. Any updates there?
Yeah, so no new board meeting since the last TSC meeting, but we do have a meeting coming up on the 30th. So that would be a week Monday. So if anyone has particular things they want brought up to the board or are interested in finding out about, please, let me know and I'll make sure that that's handled.
Okay, thanks, Miles. And then we have the strategic initiatives, issue 423. And I think we can just go through the in list. Starting off with HTTP 2. James is not here. Anybody else has any news?
Not news, but just a thing to throw out there. The version of HTTP 2 that's on 8.x is significantly far behind master at this point. I know that James was talking about trying to find time to backport that, but likely won't have time for at least a week or two. If anyone has bandwidth to try to get the two release lines more in sync, there's about like 60 something commits that need to be landed. I took a stab at it, but started getting into conflicts really early. And unfortunately, I'm not familiar enough with that code base to fix them. I would personally be more than happy to pair with someone if they wanted to work with me on it. But we do need to put some focused work on getting those backports together sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Okay, and anything new about modules?
Modules group met last week. We kind of finished the process of collecting user stories and have started to create a document that's an outline of feature sets. We're going to be having another meeting next week of going through and finishing off that list of features before we define the features of the implementation. Feels like we're getting, really good traction in the group and getting, really close to defining an interface, which is kind of the most important part of what we're doing right now.
Great. Then anything new on NAPI, Michael?
So there's the work on backporting to 6 and 8. I believe 6 landed, and I think 8 was pretty much ready too. So that's, I think, going forward. The thing I mentioned last week, which I'll mention since we have a larger group, is the direction we agreed was to actually land it as experimental in 6. There was some changes, rework, a little bit of, a small number of changes to the code. So we thought having it being experimental for at least some period of time would make sense. And then we'll need a larger discussion to say, okay, is it okay to move it out of experimental because we'll be in the maintenance phase. But, I think the first step is underway to get it out there and let people start using it across the versions.
Great, sounds good. OpenSSL, is Rod here? Anybody else have an update about that?
I know he's pushing forward on getting that in. As he mentioned last time, it would be like 1.1 only. I think there was a few wrinkles around ASM in terms of you need a newer ASM to be able to get the ASM accelerated code in the new version. So I know that because I'm running around trying to get that new ASM onto the IBM machines. I know Rod was doing it on those other machines. That's the update I can give.
Is that going to be ready in time for Tuesday?
You mean the 1.1 update?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's working on, although I didn't say it's going to be ready because I don't know for sure. I haven't heard that from him.
I'm bringing this up because it feels like there's been a pretty strong push to move forward with getting the release out next Tuesday, kind of no matter where it's at. But how do we push that out if we don't have the 1.1 OpenSSL stuff in there? Because if we're still on 1.0.2, the end of life on that is not very far out, which was kind of the reason why we started on this to begin with.
Can anybody touch base with Rod and see what he thinks whether it's going to be done by Tuesday?
Yeah, I think we need to, if the answer is no, then you're right. We can't necessarily just push it out anyway.
Yeah, so I can ping in the 10.x release, but I would personally not want to see the 10 release go out without the newer OpenSSL because it puts us in a really odd position.
Yeah, okay, I'll take the action. I'll send an email right after this meeting to Rod, just on the TSC mailing list, to say, hey, we weren't quite sure where it's at. We want to make sure it's going to be ready for 10.x.
Sounds good. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing up the concern, Miles. Anything new on workers, Anna?
Sorry, not really. It's still mostly blocked on me finding time to debug stuff on Windows.
Yeah, if anybody, I tried pinging some of our Windows people. Anybody else has people they can reach out to, that'd be great.
So is it an issue about getting resources to run it or to get help debugging?
I mean, I guess it's about help with debugging on Windows, yeah.
Are you in touch with some of the... okay. No,
Yeah,
no.
like I tried mentioning a couple of the people that I know have been active in NAPI or who are from Microsoft, right? But it doesn't sound like they've jumped in yet. So I'll try and ask them again at the meeting this week. But if just anybody else has any people they can reach out to, that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess it requires quite a bit of familiarity with both, like, the Windows C API itself and libuv, and like how those two work together. Like, there aren't many people in that intersection, and like, I mean, Bartosz is definitely aware of the issue. But like, I mean, I guess he has limited time too. So,
Who is that? I didn't hear the name.
It's BZOZ on GitHub.
Oh, okay.
Like Bartosz something, I think.
Okay, cool. All right, so if anybody knows any Windows libuv people, please point them to Anna. Then anybody has anything to say about error messages or the core promise APIs?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I just opened another pull request to assign error codes to errors thrown in the C++ code. I don't know if it's kind of too late for it to make it into V10. So is it too late? Because
maybe the other way around, like, is it urgent to get it into 10?
So the pull request was about for like assign the code to the C++ errors, so we can like do proper refactoring in V10 without having to like go single major. So like we have the policy that once the errors have code assigned, then we can just change the error message. So that's basically the PR is about. Just quickly assign a lot of codes. Then we can like properly improve them in V10.
So basically, does it do it for? Is it like all of them are now resolved? If that lands,
not all of them. Those are the trivial ones, like the type checking and range checking on arguments. I think most of them will end up being thrown anyway eventually when we do like migrate them into JavaScript. So if we can land this in V10, then we can just make it work in V10 later. But if it's too late, then I can still try to make it simple minor in that I can try to like not change the error message at all or the error types at all. It's changed. Those things are changed in the current pull request because I was trying to be like make the errors more uniform. But
So like looking through the PR, it seems like it's really just type checking, right?
yeah, like yeah, those are the trivial errors.
I mean, like I would personally say that like changing the error message for a type check is like might not have to be Semver Major actually, but
Yeah,
I would be fine with having this in V10. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with having it in V10 as well.
if like it's like if it does not have to be in like Semver Major to change the error messages, maybe we don't have to be in a rush and just remove the Semver Major label.
I mean, like we probably don't want to change this policy right now, just like for this single patch. But I mean, like nobody like actually checks the error message of a type check error, right? It's like it's always a program
Yeah, I
error.
guess so.
You never want to actually get to the point where, yeah.
But it's the like the programmer checks it, but if that could break existing code, right? I think was the rationale in the past why it was Semver Major.
Yeah, but like that only makes sense for like it really only makes sense for runtime errors, right? Not like programmer errors where you just like pass in the wrong types.
Yeah, you're unlikely to have something that's working there. Yeah.
Do we still have other errors to migrate that would be Semver Major if we change the message, and that don't have
like
a code?
real breaking, like potentially breaking changes?
Yes.
I think there are several probably in the crypto, because there are a lot of errors thrown in crypto, and some of them seem like less non-trivial.
Okay, so anyway, it will not be possible to have error codes for all Node.js errors in V10.
No, I don't think so, because like there are probably about 100 or like more than 100 left in the current code base.
Okay, then I think we don't need to rush this one.
I mean, like I get it because like V10 is an LTS line, release line, and like this is like 200 lines of diff like spread out all over the place.
Yeah, someone who does a lot of the LTS, and especially like if you look at the inconsistencies in HTTP2 right now, actually a lot of the conflicts are in like conflicting error messages. This is something that's very useful to have land and not create like extra conflict and churn early in the life cycle of a branch.
Yeah.
So it sounds like if the risk is low, people aren't, don't object or think it's a good idea. And I guess, is it that Joey should reach out to James just to make sure it does get included?
Yeah, I can do that. Like, I can try to see if this can just be included as is, or with some tricks if necessary, like just like try not to change the error messages and stuff.
Okay, I think that sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
Anything new for TSC governance?
Nothing to report now. I'm hoping that at the Collaborator Summit in Berlin, we'll have a chance to sit down and discuss about what the future of this may look like.
Okay. Anything new about the new Streams API, Jeremiah?
Nothing at this point.
Async hooks. Trevor is not here. Anybody else have something?
So we might want to actually look at like reassigning this to someone else since Trevor's not on the TSC anymore. And I'm not sure how much his participation in that will be.
Okay. Maybe we should, if nobody wants to take it at the moment, move this down to the need volunteers section on the strategic initiatives. I can open a pull request for that.
The diagnostics working group is fairly active in general.
Yeah, I think opening an issue there saying we need a new champion might make sense.
But then it should not be on our current initiatives list, right? Or can non-TSC members champion those?
I think, like, I'm wondering if we don't have a volunteer now, does it make it more likely that we'll get a volunteer from the TSC if there's a volunteer in the diagnostic group to sort of push that, and we just need a liaison to, raise things to the TSC that need that as opposed to having to drive the whole thing?
That makes sense. Yeah.
But I kind of agree, like, unless, I agree with both people. We should maybe reach out to the diagnostic group to see if we can say, okay, who's leading the charge here? And then based on that, anybody on the TC want to volunteer to sort of pair with them and be the listed champion.
Okay. And then V8 currency, Michael?
Yes, so I think today or yesterday we landed the compatibility patch with V8 6.7 on master, and it will be in V10. So correct me if I'm wrong, I think we are ready to ship the new version of V8 in Node 10. So it will be V8 6.6 and forward compatible with V8 6.7.
Nice, thank you.
Don't have anything else to say.
Sorry, I just missed the key point there to keep capturing the notes. We just want to say that it has, did you say the backport to be compatible with 6.7 is landed?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if it's in v10.x staging, but it's in master.
It's not in staging yet, but it will get picked up either today or tomorrow.
Okay, then we have one more issue in, I guess we don't have any volunteers for mentoring and NSP and modules initiative. Okay, then we can move on to the next issue on the agenda in Node.js admin. It is add Node Slack community to scope, issue 49. So the question there is whether Slack, the Node.js Slack channel, whether that should be under our moderation scope and therefore be an official resource for Node.js. And Jeremiah had some concerns there. Do you want to reiterate, Jeremiah?
Sure. So first I have a clarifying question, which is the whoever owns the Slack actually like handing it over to us?
So the answer to that is no, but we've added some community representatives like Tracy to the administrators there.
I mean, Tracy doesn't do that much around here anymore, does she?
No, she's still like quite active on the community committee side.
Okay.
She regularly participates in at least 2 meetings that I'm in.
So how can we call this putting it under our scope when we really don't have any scope there?
Well, I think they would use our moderation guidelines. And I think Tracy and Tierney and some other Node folks are very active there as moderators.
They could already use our guidelines.
Yeah, so I think it's that they've agreed to follow the guidelines. We have some people from the community who were involved there, and the feeling of basically putting them there. This was perhaps like a first test to see if we can do this kind of thing where we don't have to run the whole environment, but can be involved and have some influence through the admins as a way to say, yeah, our moderation policy and does apply there. If people are going to talk about Node and and you know, we want to give it, you know, I guess we're saying we've connected enough that we think that's okay, is what the, you know, the motivation of adding them is.
I think at least 1 or 2 people from this group should be admins for this to be okay.
So, Matteo, kind of adding on that, is there an explicit difference that you see there between it being from like the Node TSC versus being from the ComCom, for example? Or is the group that you're talking about Node as a whole?
I think it's, so if it's under both the TSC and ComCom, then somebody on the ComCom should be an admin. So somebody on TSC should be an admin as well. I don't know if you are. If you are, it's fine.
Tracy is a member of the ComCom and is an admin.
Yeah, I think if it's under the joint responsibility of both the TSC and ComCom, it needs somebody on the TSC as well, from the TSC as well.
Jeremiah, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so I guess like trying to do something like that probably is not the worst idea. In that case, there probably should be people from the ComCom adminning it, to at least to some degree. And the moderation should either be done by our moderation team or by a team that is structured in the same way. So if it's not already.
So Jeremiah, adding on to that, Tracy is also a member of our moderation team. So it seems to me like Tracy is the representative who's holding that up. Matteo, you were saying that you maybe wanted 2 people. I would personally say that since the TSC and ComCom through Min have, you know, more or less given moderation oversight over this stuff, and a member of the moderation team is doing it, that seems to me to be sufficient. I guess the question would be more if you want more than 1 individual.
It's then it falls down to be more than 1.
Okay. And then if we look at the individuals that are on this list versus our general collaboratorship, which may be helpful. So Jordan Harband is a member of the admin Slack. They're not a collaborator, but they're someone who likely should be considered for a nomination reasonably soon. Ari is on there as well, who's a well-known member of the community, but is not a collaborator. So it seems to me like the contentious bit, and then Jeremiah, please correct me if this doesn't cover your ends, is getting another person involved.
Is anybody on the TSC who wants to be involved there in moderation? Like Matteo, should we get you in touch with the people to see?
No, I won't have time. I would love to, but I won't have time.
Because I see if nobody wants to be or has the time to moderate, then it's kind of a hard condition if we say more TSC members have to be involved.
Oh yeah, that's so. To me, it's not about being moderator. It's about somebody having the admin rights. So it's not about moderating.
Okay.
It's more or less the same thing as we have an NPM account.
Okay, so it would be enough if the chair and the director have admin rights, yes, and then
exactly.
people from ComCom are involved. Okay.
Yeah. To me, it's more about there is no chance we lose the admin rights on that thing. Like it's the same thing as having a Node.js Foundation NPM account on the Node.js Foundation modules. It's the same concept. Okay, it's not about. It's not really about the individuals. It's more about the keeping the. So making it official and the fact that we can't lose those credentials. Like we might as well that we create a dummy account and we put the credential in the second thing as the Node Foundation one.
Sounds good. Who wants to reach out to the Slack if that's an option?
I mean, it seems to me like Tracy would be a good person to handle that.
Okay, I'm gonna ping Tracy and let her know that that would be a requirement. And then I think Jeremiah had more other concerns as well, though.
Yeah, so I just want to on that, yeah, I agree with Matteo. I don't think that like we should be doing the moderation. That's why we have a moderation team. But if we're gonna put it under, if we're gonna put it under the admin scope, realistically, either I think it should be moderated by our moderation team or an extension of it, or it should have like a moderation team that functions, I don't know, somewhat similarly, which would probably be necessary to adopt all of our rules anyways, because I think they entail that in some way, if I remember correctly.
How do we handle this on the IRC? Is everybody who is a moderator on IRC automatically in the Node moderation team? Do you know?
I mean, we kind of don't, because no one really seems to care. I have one of the sets of admin rights on it, but no one else really seems to care about it, and I don't really have time for it.
So I'm an op both in Node Dev and hashtag Node.js, and I don't actively moderate, but whenever things are brought up, you know, like I will ban people or kick people or deal with it as they're reported. One thing that is worth mentioning, there is a bit of an overlap here in some of the people that are moderators on this Slack, as well as moderators inside of the Node.js IRC. But I do think that, I guess that's a somewhat kind of valid either concern or point, depending the angle that you look at it, that should we be holding the Slack more accountable than the IRC? Or alternatively, should we be bringing in you know, more spaces that are not actively moderated to the extent we'd like? Do we think that, oh, please go for it, Michael.
I was just going to add, like, I mean, you know, ideally we would have, you know, unlimited moderation resources. We could have our team moderate all the different channels we can. That's unfortunately not the case. And in this case, we have a group who's agreed to basically uphold our moderation standard. And, you know, it's, I guess it's, if that model can work, where basically, you know, another group is committed to upholding the standard that we've set, it'd be nice to see if that can work, because that's better than not having any moderation. You know, basically having less channels. The alternative is to have less channels where there's moderation, or at least moderation that we've influenced. So, you know, I guess it's like, I see it as a net plus if we support those groups who are going to say, yeah, we'll implement your moderation, we'll put admins on into our organization, as opposed to just saying, well, unless we can do it ourselves, there's just not going to be any moderation. And, you know, if it doesn't work, then, you know, we can remove them, right? And say, okay, well, there's no association here. But if it does work, it seems like we've gotten a benefit, right? At least that's the perspective I'm coming from.
I would agree with Michael. Jeremiah, how are you feeling on that?
I mean, sure, I guess. I still don't think it's the greatest idea for other reasons. I mean, I think it fragments our real-time communications community, as it were, even more. And I don't, I mean, I have a write-up already on why I don't think Slack is a really great tool for this. So
yeah, I saw that. You have that on GitHub, right? Like in one of the comments.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think we're,
it's, yeah.
We're not proposing pushing anybody to that Slack or saying that's our new standard way of communicating in the project. It's just, here is another one which already exists and is actually quite active.
Yeah, I guess like one way of framing that too is like, this is a space that's already active. They're interested in getting more engaged with us and adhering more to like our policy and moderation guidelines. While it may not be, you know, the perfect space, and Jeremiah, I totally hear you on the separating the real-time communication. But I think that on the flip side of that, while Node Dev is really good for us to communicate about organizing internal dev, hashtag Node.js is not necessarily the best space for people to go and communicate and participate. And if we have an active, flourishing Slack, it seems like something that if we have the ability to help mentor and help guide in a good direction is something that we should try to do.
I mean, I wasn't making the case that IRC was the good place for it.
Mm-hmm.
I've already listed out in significant detail why I think Discord is a better option than both of these, but I guess that's not happening.
I mean, nothing in this prevents us from setting up, here is the project's official communication mechanism that happens to be whatever else if we choose to choose something else.
Yeah. Have we ever tried a Discord chat and see if it caught on?
I don't know that we've tried any. That there's been over the years quite a bit of discussion about, you know, whatever different options. There's like 3 or 4 or 5, or I don't think we've, people can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've ever gotten to the point of setting up one of the alternatives.
No, we haven't. I think there's some fear of getting locked into it very quickly.
I don't think we ever got a consensus on what it would be, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I think. Sorry, please go, Francie.
No, go ahead, Miles.
I was just going to say that there's people who are on this Slack now who are using it, and this seems like it would only make it better. And I don't think it precludes us from exploring new spaces. And even if we wanted to explore looking at Discord, which I'm personally have no objections to, I don't think that there's anything from stopping the technical project to moving to Discord and making Discord more open. And if it gets adoption, it would win. I think it's more just about like, we have a thing that has a lot of adoption right now. So how do we make it better?
Okay. Maybe everybody could have a look at Node.js admin 49 and do a code review. Well, code review is just saying whether you agree with those changes. So we have a little more weigh in, and maybe what you just said, Miles, and Michael, what you said earlier, maybe you can add that as a common comment to rationalize your voting. And I will talk to Tracy and make sure that if we do put this as an official resource, then we would also have an official Node Foundation admin account. Sounds like a plan?
Sounds like a plan to me.
So it's issue 49 in Node.js admin. Okay. And then quick question, do we do the voting for new TSC members in the public part, or do we hold off for the private part? I forgot how we do that.
Does anybody remember?
I feel like we've maybe done it in the public portion, because at this point there's been enough stuff that's been publicly discussed, but I could be mistaken about that.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling where I have as well.
Well, I'd say let's just do it in the public part. So Timothy has been nominated as a TSC member, and he has observed multiple meetings, and I think we're ready to do the official in-person votes for whether we accept his nomination. I don't remember. Miles, did you nominate him?
I think it was maybe James.
Okay, so it would be nice if the nominator can say a few words, but I can say that I've worked with Timothy on some V8 APIs for the property descriptors, which are used in the VM module, and he's been super helpful there. So big +1 from my side for the nomination.
Yep, yeah. +1 from me as well. I've seen lots of good work across the project.
Oops. Yeah, ditto. Constantly impressed by their interactions and input.
And I see a bunch of +1s in the chat.
Yeah, I think if everybody just does that, that's typically what we've done.
And we currently have 11 TSC members present, or maybe 12. I'm not sure if the chat is counting myself, but that is definitely more than half of the TSC. So we have quorum. I see lots of +1s here. Somebody can count them for the notes.
Yep.
And I guess it's welcome, Timothy.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, welcome, and thanks for all the stuff you've been doing.
Yeah. We look forward to more stuff and work.
Okay. Yeah, okay, great. I'm just looking, making sure we've got everybody. And okay, good.
Okay, great. So the next point is Q&A. Any questions on YouTube or Twitter? Hello, YouTube listeners. I don't see any questions.
Actually, and if people can just add +1s in the comments, because I don't think we've got quite everybody yet, but.
Okay, there's no questions. So upcoming meetings, have a look at the official Node.js Foundation calendar, nodejs.org/calendar. There's lots of meetings going on all the time. And anybody else have any more announcements or anything we forgot to mention?
Maybe regarding Joy's earlier suggestion of merging her error code CR into V10, James just commented that for it to be included in 10, he would prefer to be landed by tomorrow, which would mean fast cracking it. So like, I mean, I'm personally okay with that, but just like might be a good reason to get more eyes looking at.
Yeah, can you send the link in the chat so we can all have a look or put it in the notes?
It's PR 20121. And I'm gonna paste. Okay, Joy already did.
Okay, thanks, Joy. Thanks, Anna. Okay, then that concludes our meeting for today. Thanks everybody for listening.